So, as the famous artist from Onyx, Sticky Fingers, once said, but, but, but wait, it gets worse. So now it's breaking that there's a widespread cover-up of Fauci being involved with the Wuhan lab, and now there's all kinds of shit coming out about it. Now, of course, everybody could have tuned into Mr. Mediker's Corona Chan stream in about February of the first of the beginning of it all, and have seen every single thing that's popped up on the internet. It already was there. You could already find it. It was all there. It was just public information. You just had to know how to look for the metadata, and so all the people around Mediker did that. And thank goodness for Poll and 4chan, because that's what they did. They found all the information ahead of time. There's even more that's going to be found out, because nobody yet still knows the Bill Gates connection to it all. And the Bill Gates connection to it all, again, it's all right there on the internet. You could find it. It's not being covered up or anything like that. It's Microsoft Genomics. Microsoft is getting involved in the Human Genome Project industrially, so that they have a nice big library of people's genetics for the next stage of medicine, which is genetic medicine. So that's why we then had this big attempt to see if mRNA would work along those lines, which it didn't. It failed. It failed the test, which it had failed multiple times. In that, again, this was something well known to DARPA and other people who were developing mRNA vaccines, that it was known that it had this horrible track records up to that point. And it was introduced like it was the not just the best thing ever. I mean, the way that these guys were selling it sounded. You should have, anybody who had taken biology in the 90s or 80s would have known, like, no, that's not how that works. Like, I'm sorry, it can't be better than you getting over it. That is not how that works. You're either immune or you're not at a certain stage. Like, there's no way you could have even known that. There's no way you could have gotten that data set in such a short amount of time. But this should have been obvious to anybody who had taken a decent biology class at a decent high school. But millions were fooled. So now we've got Fauci dead to rights, that this was all something that has to do with the Pentagon, and then beyond that. But wait, it gets worse. Like I was saying in the video beforehand, that we're starting to get a better and better sense of how the Democrats were starting to basically work within social media firms, and especially in Google and Alphabet, so as to just simply alter what was accurate information, or information at all even available on the internet. Just to yeet stuff off the internet, because they didn't like it. So that's one that was really shocking, was to actually see via YouTube information being kind of yeeted almost in real time off of the internet. When you looked for it on Google, but if you looked for it on a variety of others, especially like Brave browser and some other ones, you would easily find it. And so tests like that, things like that, because the right are actually made up of a lot of very, very, very smart people. They just don't advertise their thinking. So a lot of these guys and people like me, that we were like, wait, okay, if I remember correctly from a little computer programming I had taken, this is the way this should work, So now the beautiful part is, if you knew what to look for crime, you know what's coming. So the Democrats really are facing a very fascinating problem of having apparently some strange sort of part of their party that works with the FBI, what looks like the NSA, the Pentagon, the whole deal, and that they are all a part of some coordinated effort so that everything they tend to like, no matter how damaging it is to everybody, they just alter the internet itself. They make up that people like it. This happened with Hillary Clinton, that the polls just weren't making any sense. You looked at how they conducted the polls. The polls were Democrat plus, heavy Democrat plus, to the point that after a while it was like, wait, these are, we can't count on anything but, and then we started to find the polls that were actually properly done. And they were showing that, no, Hillary Clinton was actually very, very unpopular with a wide variety of groups of people. And so what started to come of this is that at a certain point, it started to become, it seems as if there's almost like an entire operation of ginning up numbers. And it's like an industry of ginning up numbers and ginning up data. And that's now what the Democrats are going to get horribly caught up in, is how much of their money, how much effort went into just ginning up fake information, rather than really like, what precisely can we do that our constituents who give us money want us to do. That's simple. That's something that simple. They give us money. They want us to do this. What should we do? But instead, we're going to use this money to fund some funny named institute that's supposedly looking for hate speech online. But that what this is actually some weird bot farm. And that was the other one, was the bot farm canard. The right-wing bot farm, the Russian bot farm. When people started doing this, where they started testing the bots. They started to see, what will the bots jump at? Can you get them to respond to certain things? The right wing's made up of people who are really darn smart. So with doing this, we started to figure out, like, no, this appears to be something American, and it appears to be like people someplace simply with a whole bunch of accounts open, and they're just posting the same shit, to all the different, via all the different accounts. But the way that the words are, this seems to actually be American. What they're responding to and the way they're responding to it, this actually leans kind of pro-Democratic Party. And repeated or something that is of their political interests. And then when it's supposedly some right-wing people, a lot of what they're saying doesn't jive with accounts that are definitely real humans. Like, they don't jive with it. The language doesn't sound correct when you say it out loud. So you have to wonder if it's coming from a United States person. There's things about the way, like, this doesn't really agree with their political interests necessarily. Things like that started to make people realize, no. A lot of this bot farm stuff sounds a little... And so finally you started to... It was the woman who went on Joe Rogan, who was supposed to say, I'm the woman who found the bot farm. And then I'm like, that's it. It was garbage. That didn't happen. This chick did not find the bot farm because she's just some intrepid reporter. And sure enough, as I posted something, I started getting some shit from a bot. What really I started to realize after a couple back and forths, I'm like, this is a bot. Yeah, I think this is an AI, and that it's been programmed to do this, and I'm like, very interesting. But yeah, and so, and then of course, eventually the story did come out that this was complete conjecture, that it was that this was the government made up, that there was this organization in Russia that was doing all this stuff, that it doesn't exist, that it's not what they say it is, which the whole thing was, the way that I heard it put, was, no, worst of all is really, it doesn't appear that the United States truly grasps exactly what Russia does with its information, like intelligence kind of stuff. Like that's really what the takeaway was. It's like, no, there's so much mismanagement right now that they have to tell stories like this, that there's like this building with a moat around it, and the Russians are hacking everybody from this building with a moat around it or something like that, and it's just and so and I thought, now I've even heard a lot of people say like, oh no, that's a totally legit story, that exists and everything, and but it's a little too good to be true. It's just a little too good to be true. That once I was like, oh, this intrepid reporter who is like almost the image of what liberals want to think is like a liberal fantasy exemplar character of the political universe, of the American political multiverse. And so now I was really just thinking about how now what you've got really with the Dems is that they've tangled themselves up in things, like one that at some point how Dr. Umar Johnson and not Talib Kweli, oh my gosh, what was his, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name, not Tabari. Okay, it'll come to me. But how, like, people like them, they never caught on to the kid who got killed, the black kids who got shot up at CHOP and Chaz. They never apparently looked into this. If you look into all the stories surrounding the CHOP and the Chaz, the security appeared in Rolling Stone in an article about Americans who trained in Kurdistan. And they bragged about this fact. They never went to federal prison for fighting in a foreign country for a foreign organization. No, they end up being celebrated by Rolling Stone magazine as a part of this security division. Medic/security. So, beyond that, what more? But wait, it gets worse. There's a person named Justin Trouble. He made sure to take all the security footage that was in the area around the CHOP and the Chaz around the time of this shooting. They lit this fucking truck up this was long rifle shots. None of the police or the firefighters or the mayor's department, all of their texts vanished. Both them, Portland and Seattle's, all the texts gone. They don't exist. People like Umar Johnson don't understand. The kid who got blamed for the shooting happened to be some dumbass standing around, and he said his on Instagram because he was an Insta rapper. And I even made a video about this. Zay Huncho is the name he went by. He said, yeah, Zay Huncho, blah, 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 on Instagram, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, and I made a video saying, bro, you need to get that off of the internet. You need to talk to the cops. You just identified yourself at present of a mass shooting. Like, I'm like, what are you thinking? Like, bro. And I never have understood how the pro-blacks have never picked up on how strange this is. That once it's BLM and Antifa and black people get shot and lit up with long rifles in a place that's been walled off by white commies, that you're not allowed to ask questions, because those are your allies. You don't ask. But now what's interesting is, you see, if they were allies, you wouldn't just ask questions. They would come to you like, oh my gosh, this just happened. No, what the whole Chaz Chop shooting was is you're getting no information from the people who basically are in charge. That this kid's going to go up for the shooting in Chop, and no one's going to ask fucking questions because you know your place. And that's how that really is. And you all know it. You all know that's the score. You know, you could be told a lot of things by the college educated, but you know that's the score. And so, at the end of the dominoes game, that's the score, nigga. And so, I'm finding it very fascinating to see how this tenuous, go, please, Jesus. Oh, Oregon drivers are the weirdest. They're just weird. You never know what you're going to get from driver to driver. It's so good to see a man in a mustache and a mesh cap behind a Ford F-150 because that means he's going to go. He is going to accelerate in his truck. You know, you get some old bent and you never know. It's like, oh my God, are you going to kill me one of 3 ways or 4 ways? And so, but yeah, how this tenuous relationship is going to work, and then how the party is going to endure, because there's no way of reforming something like this. Now, the very important thing that only recently in my life I learned, this happens every once in a while to the Democratic Party. The Republican Party has its own cycle of rise and fall, but when the Democrats rise and fall, they have very interesting outcomes. And one of these is that during their rise and fall, the people take all of the power from the party in the federal government. Like they become a pariah party for a period of time and have to earn back. Like Clinton was earning back a lot of faith from people who no longer had faith in the party. It seems strange, but they don't tell you this, but I was there to see it. All right, later.